The Forbidden Crossing. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood before the massive viewport of the UES horizon, watching stars slowly fade into the cosmic darkness ahead. After 18 months of travel, they had finally reached the edge of everything humanity had ever known. The galactic rim stretched before them like a vast ocean of nothingness, punctuated only by the occasional distant flicker of light from neighboring galaxies millions of years away. "Captain, we're detecting something unusual," called Dr. Marcus Chen from his science station. The brilliant physicist had volunteered for this mission, despite knowing they might never return to Earth. His dark eyes were fixed on the readings scrolling across his screens. "There's an energy barrier approximately 50,000 kilometers ahead. It's unlike anything in our databases." Elena turned from the viewport, her weathered face showing the determination that had earned her command of humanity's most ambitious mission. At 45, she had led more deep space expeditions than any other captain in the Earth Federation. Her crew trusted her completely, which was why they had followed her into the unknown without question. "Can you identify the source?" she asked, moving to stand behind Chen's station. "That's the strange part," Chen replied, adjusting his instruments. "The barrier appears to be artificial, but it's impossibly old. I'm reading energy patterns that suggest it's been active for millions of years, possibly longer." Commander Sarah Okafor looked up from the tactical station. The tall woman with short-cropped black hair had served as Elena's second-in-command for 7 years. Her military background made her naturally cautious, but she had learned to trust Elena's instincts. "Captain, I'm also picking up some unusual readings. The barrier seems to be scanning us." Elena felt a familiar chill run down her spine. In her years of exploration, she had learned to trust her intuition. Something about this barrier felt deliberately placed, as if it were waiting for them. "Put it on the main screen." The viewport transformed into a display showing the space ahead of them. What they saw made the entire bridge crew fall silent. A shimmering wall of energy stretched across space as far as their sensors could detect, rising and falling like a vast ocean of light. It pulsed with colors that had no names, creating patterns that seemed almost alive. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Torres from the navigation station. "How big is it?" Chen's fingers flew over his controls. "According to these readings, it completely encircles our local galaxy group. Everything we've ever known. Every star we've cataloged. Every world we've discovered. It's all contained within this barrier." The implications hit Elena like a physical blow. Humanity had always wondered why they had never encountered alien life despite decades of searching. Now they understood. They had been living inside a cage without even knowing it existed. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission," Okafor announced, her voice tight with tension. "It's coming from beyond the barrier. Put it through." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that defied description. The being that appeared before them was tall and ethereal, with features that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Its voice, when it spoke, resonated with the weight of countless ages. "Greetings, children of Earth," the being said. "I am the Prime Architect, speaking for the collective consciousness that has maintained this barrier for eons beyond your comprehension. You have reached the boundary of your permitted existence." Elena stepped forward, drawing herself up to her full height. Despite the alien's obvious power, she refused to be intimidated. "I am Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Earth Federation vessel Horizon. By what authority do you claim to limit our movement through space?" The Prime Architect's expression remained neutral, but something in its manner suggested ancient sadness. "By the authority of necessity, Captain Rodriguez. Your species possesses characteristics that make you a threat to galactic stability. The barrier exists to protect the greater cosmos from your kind." "What characteristics?" Dr. Chen interjected, his scientific curiosity overriding protocol. "We're explorers, not conquerors. We've never shown hostility toward other species." "Because you have never encountered other species," the Prime Architect replied. "Your isolation has been carefully maintained. We have observed your kind for millennia, watching as you adapted to every environment. overcame every obstacle, and turned every disadvantage into strength. This adaptability, while admirable, makes you incompatible with the ordered civilizations beyond this barrier. Elena felt anger rising in her chest. You've been watching us, studying us like laboratory animals. We study all emerging species, the Prime Architect explained. Most develop along predictable paths. They reach a certain level of advancement and then stabilize, content with their achievements. But humanity never stops growing, never stops pushing boundaries. You solve problems that should be impossible to solve. You survive situations that should destroy you. And most dangerous of all, you inspire others to do the same. Commander Okafor stepped closer to Elena. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy buildups on the other side of the barrier. Multiple sources, all focused on our position. The Prime Architect nodded. The collective has decided. You will return to your home system immediately. Any attempt to breach the barrier will result in your immediate termination. This is not a negotiation, Captain Rodriguez. This is a statement of fact. Elena looked around at her crew. She saw fear in some faces, determination in others, but in all of them, she saw the same stubborn refusal to back down that had characterized humanity throughout its history. They had come too far to turn back now. We didn't travel 18 months to turn around at the first sign of opposition, Elena said firmly. Humanity has a right to explore the universe. We won't be caged by beings who are too afraid to let us prove ourselves. The Prime Architect's form seemed to shimmer with what might have been frustration. Captain, you do not understand. We have seen what happens when species like yours are allowed to spread unchecked. Entire sectors fall into chaos. Ancient civilizations crumble. The natural order collapses. Maybe the natural order needs to change, Elena replied. Maybe what you call chaos, we call progress. Dr. Chen was studying his readings intently. Captain, I think I found something. The barrier has weaknesses, points where the energy fluctuates. If we modulate our shields to match the frequency variations, we might be able to pass through. The Prime Architect's image flickered with apparent alarm. Do not attempt this, Captain. The barrier has never been breached from the inside. The consequences would be catastrophic. Elena made her decision. She had spent her entire career pushing into unknown space, facing dangers that others deemed impossible. She wasn't about to stop now, especially not when the freedom of her entire species was at stake. Dr. Chen, begin shield modifications. Commander Okafor, prepare for possible combat. Lieutenant Torres, plot a course for the nearest barrier fluctuation. Captain Rodriguez, the Prime Architect's voice carried a note of desperate urgency. If you proceed, the collective will have no choice but to respond with overwhelming force. Your ship, your crew, even your species may face extinction. Is satisfying your curiosity worth that price? Elena looked at the barrier blocking their path, then at her crew. Each of them had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might not return. They had come here to push the boundaries of human knowledge and exploration. To turn back now would betray everything they stood for. Our curiosity, as you call it, is what makes us human, Elena said. It's what drove us from caves to cities, from Earth to the stars. If we stopped exploring, stopped questioning, we wouldn't be human anymore. We'd just be another species content to stay in its cage. The Prime Architect's image began to fade. Then you have chosen your path, Captain Rodriguez. Remember that you were warned. As the transmission ended, Shen looked up from his console. Shield modifications complete, Captain. I can't guarantee this will work, but our best models suggest we have a 60% chance of successful passage. Elena settled into her command chair. Those are better odds than Columbus had when he set sail for the New World. All stations, prepare for barrier transit. Let's show the universe what humanity is really made of. The horizon moved forward, its modified shields shimmering with energy that matched the barrier's fluctuations. As they approached the impossible wall of light, Elena felt the familiar mixture of fear and excitement that came with true exploration. They were about to discover what lay beyond the cage that had contained humanity for millions of years. Whatever they found on the other side, whatever dangers awaited them, one thing was certain. Humanity would face it with the same stubborn courage that had carried them from their first stumbling steps to the edge of the galaxy itself. The unknown beckoned, and Captain Elena Rodriguez had never been one to refuse an invitation to explore. The ultimate test. The passage through the barrier felt like being torn apart and rebuilt at the molecular level. Captain Elena Rodriguez gripped her command chair as the UES horizon shuddered through dimensions of space that human science had never imagined. Warning lights flashed across every console, while the ship's hull groaned under stresses that should have destroyed them instantly. Then, suddenly, they were through. Status report, Elena commanded as the lights stabilized and the alarms fell silent. All systems functional, Commander Sarah Okafor reported, though her voice carried a note of amazement. I can't believe we made it. Dr. Marcus Chen was already absorbed in his sensor readings. Captain, you need to see this. What we're detecting beyond the barrier defies everything we thought we knew about galactic structure. Elena moved to Chen's station and felt her breath catch. The main display showed a sight that would haunt her dreams forever. Stretching into the cosmic distance were thousands upon thousands of dead worlds, their surfaces scared and lifeless. Massive skeletal structures that had once been space stations drifted like ghosts among the debris of extinct civilizations. It's a graveyard, whispered Lieutenant Torres from navigation. The biggest graveyard in the universe. Chen's hands trembled as he adjusted his instruments. Captain, based on spectral analysis, some of these civilizations died out millions of years ago. Others are much more recent, maybe only thousands of years old. But they all share one characteristic, which is, they were all highly adaptive species, fast learners, quick to solve problems, resistant to extinction events. According to these readings, they all possessed the same basic traits that the prime architect described in humanity. Elena felt a cold realization settling over her. This wasn't just a barrier to keep humanity contained. It was a processing station, a place where species like theirs were brought to die. They'd done this before. Many times. Captain, incoming transmission, Okafor announced. Multiple sources, all hostile in tone. The main screen filled with images of beings unlike anything in human nightmares. These were not the ethereal architects they had encountered before. These creatures were built for war, their bodies encased in living armor that pulsed with deadly energy. Their leader, a massive being with 4 arms and eyes that burned like stars, spoke with a voice like grinding metal. I am Fleet Commander Nexus of the Destroyer Armada, the being announced. By breaching the containment barrier, the human species has forfeited its right to exist. Prepare for immediate termination. Elena stepped forward, her jaw set with determination. I am Captain Elena Rodriguez. Our only crime was curiosity. We pose no threat to anyone. Nexus laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Your predecessors said the same thing. The Valari claimed they only sought knowledge. The Kethmor swore they came in peace. The Zephyrians insisted they meant no harm. All of them lie rotting in the void now. Dr. Chen was studying the tactical displays with growing alarm. Captain, I'm counting over 200 destroyer vessels. Each one is easily 10 times our size and firepower. But Elena wasn't focused on the enemy ships. Something else had caught her attention. Among the debris fields of dead civilizations, she was detecting faint energy signatures. Not the cold signatures of abandoned technology, but something warmer, more organic. Dr. Chen, are you picking up life signs among the wreckage? Chen's eyes widened as he refined his scans. Incredible. There are consciousness patterns scattered throughout the debris field. It's as if the dying civilizations left something behind. Some kind of collective memory or spirit. Before Elena could respond, the space around the horizon began to shimmer. Ghostly forms began to materialize, translucent beings that seemed to be composed of pure thought and memory. They were representatives of all the extinct species, and they spoke with one voice. Children of Earth, they whispered, their words carrying the weight of eons of loss and regret. We are the remnants, the final echoes of worlds that fell to the destroyer's cycle of elimination. We have watched and waited for one who might break the pattern. Fleet Commander Nexus snarled at the appearance of the remnants. Ghosts of the past, you have no power here. Stand aside while we complete our duty. But the remnants ignored the destroyer commander, focusing entirely on Alina. Captain Rodriguez, your species possesses something the others lacked. Where we saw obstacles, you see opportunities. Where we accepted limitations, you find alternatives. The architects fear you because you don't just adapt to survive. You transform challenges into advantages. Alina felt pieces of a cosmic puzzle beginning to fall into place. The barrier wasn't built to protect the galaxy from us. It was built to protect the status quo. The architects and destroyers maintain control by eliminating any species that might inspire others to grow beyond their assigned roles. Exactly, the remnants confirmed. But you have the potential to do what we could not. Show them that growth and change don't have to mean destruction. Commander Nexus had heard enough. Enough delay. All units, open fire. Eliminate the human vessel and disperse these remnant spirits once and for all. The first wave of destroyer fire lit up space like a miniature sun. But instead of running or trying to fight conventionally, Alina made a decision that would have seemed insane to any military strategist. Commander Okafor, drop shields and open all communication channels. Captain, that's suicide. Trust me. Dr. Chen, begin broadcasting our complete historical database on all frequencies. Every piece of human art, music, literature, science, and philosophy. Let them see who we really are. As the destroyer weapons struck the horizon, something unprecedented happened. The ship's hull, instead of being destroyed, began to resonate with harmonics from the transmitted human culture. The energy from the enemy weapons was absorbed and transformed, creating a protective field that grew stronger with each attack. Nexus stared in disbelief as his most powerful weapons proved useless. Impossible. No species has ever turned our own energy against us. But Alina wasn't finished. Lieutenant Torres set course directly for the destroyer flagship, full speed. The horizon shot forward, not fleeing from the enemy but charging straight toward them. As they closed the distance, something extraordinary began to happen. The remnant spirits, energized by humanity's refusal to surrender, began to coalesce into a more solid form. Captain, Chen reported with awe in his voice, the remnants are using our approach as a catalyst. They're somehow drawing strength from our determination and courage. The ghostly forms of extinct civilizations were becoming increasingly solid, their own ships beginning to rematerialize around them. What had once been a graveyard of failed species was transforming into an armada of the reborn. Fleet Commander Nexus realized too late what was happening. All units, retreat immediately. The remnants are achieving corporeal resurrection. This was not foreseen in any scenario. But it was too late. The combined fleet of reborn civilizations, led by a single human vessel, had surrounded the destroyer armada. However, instead of attacking, Alina made one final, impossible choice. Open a channel to all vessels, both destroyer and remnant, she commanded. When the connection was established, Alina's voice carried across space to thousands of ships and millions of beings. I'm Captain Alina Rodriguez, and I speak for humanity. We didn't come here to fight or conquer. We came here to explore and learn. The architects and destroyers have maintained order through fear and elimination. But there's another way. She gestured toward the resurrected remnant fleet. These civilizations aren't our enemies or yours. They're teachers, each one carrying knowledge and experience that could benefit everyone. Instead of destroying what's different, why not learn from it? Instead of fearing change, why not guide it? Commander Nexus was about to reply with scorn when something unexpected happened. Several of his own subordinates began lowering their weapons. The idea Alina presented, The concept of growth through cooperation rather than elimination was spreading through the destroyer ranks like wildfire. The Prime Architect's image suddenly appeared on all screens, flickering with what seemed like panic. This is not acceptable. The protocol must be maintained. Order must be preserved. But even as the architect spoke, Elena could see doubt in its ancient features. For the first time in millions of years, its certainty was being challenged not by force, but by possibility. Dr. Chen looked up from his readings with amazement. "Captain, I'm detecting massive changes in the barrier structure. It's not just weakening, it's transforming. Instead of keeping species separated, it's becoming a network connecting them." Elena smiled as she watched the impossible become reality. Humanity hadn't just survived their encounter with the galactic powers. They had done something far more important. They had shown the universe that there was another way forward, one based on growth, cooperation, and the endless human refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. As the barrier transformed from a prison into a bridge, Captain Elena Rodriguez knew that humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning.